So much. This is our first Power Friday for the new academic year, and we're starting off with a big bang with our College of Education book celebration. We're focusing on the books that were published in 2024 and what's been published so far in 2025. I know we got a couple more in the pipeline. I know Trish has one that should be out before the end of the year. Anyone else have one that'll be out at the end of the year?
Maybe.
I hope so. So hopefully we'll have some more to celebrate for next year. Hopefully this can be an annual thing that we do. For anyone else, I think everyone in the room is covered. Well, probably not. Phil, you've written a book, right? A long
Not
time
in
ago.
this pipeline. I've written several books.
Okay, so you get a button. Pass the button down to Phil.
Oh.
That's it. So we got about 19, 20 people online as well, but if you're a college of education author who's written a book in your lifetime, then you will be getting a Purdue University College of Education book author button. So we made those not just for this folks, but for everyone. And so I want to thank Julie for doing that. We want to recognize that Cristina Farmus from the Provost's office, who, as you know, is leader of our Purdue Book Initiative, and she'll be sharing some final comments with us at the end. But we really appreciate your support and the excitement that you've helped develop around Purdue for books, because we've been excited about books for a long time. And so we're very grateful for this effort. And we're grateful to have our dean with us, Interim Dean Phil Van Foss. He's going to give us a few opening words of welcome. And then fourth year interim dean, longest running dean at Purdue, except for Eric Barker.
Yeah.
Just get that on the record, on the recording.
That's true.
And doing a phenomenal job. So after Phil's remarks, we got a slide for each of your books. We'll have you come up and just give us a little 5-minute overview of your book. Once we've all done that, then we're going to have the authors come up here and form a semicircle, and we'll get into a panel where you can share advice for others on publishing efforts, and then we'll have a Q&A with the audience, including those of you who are online. You can either unmute or type your questions in the chat, and then Mike here will be able to relay those to the panelists. So with that, Dr. Van Fossen.
Thank you.
Do you want to come up here where they can see you?
If I must.
Yeah. We have more people online than in the
I
room.
prefer just to sit at the table.
You can sit.
I can sit up here?
Sure.
Okay, that's great. So, good morning and welcome to Cristina. Thank you very much for being here. It's nice to see the level of support and celebration at the Central for this program. This is, the major awards and book publishing initiative, which was undertaken going on 2 years ago, 18 months ago, maybe, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're less than a year. Okay, it's been in my ear, hearing about we need to increase book publication for at least 2 years. And so what I've told people when those conversations happened initially was, yeah, this is great because this is what we do. Our faculty are leaders across campus in terms of publishing books. When you adjust for size, one of the many ways in which we are punching above our weight, small but mighty here in the College of Education, is we put out more books per tenure track faculty than any other college. And Christina's got data on that she shared yesterday. And Wayne shared with me this morning. I had to do some quick, had to put some numbers to this. So right now in the pipeline, we have 26, excuse me, that's not right. We have 51 books in the pipeline, okay? Which absolutely puts us in 5th place overall across colleges here, and that includes honors and libraries, okay? But when you adjust for size, something else altogether emerges. We are number 1 at the university in when you normalize by tenure track faculty. We have 47 tenure track faculty, good, bad, or different. This is our number, okay? And we have 51 books in the pipeline, which means we're the only college that has that our number is greater than 1. Some of our colleagues, agriculture is 0.4, Daniel School of Business is 0.2. Even our colleagues in liberal arts are only at 0.79. So you should take great pride, as I do, in sharing with people that, hey, this books initiative couldn't come at a better time because we are, as we have historically, knocked it out of the park. And some of that is the nature of our discipline or sub-disciplines, depending. But some of it's the faculty here in the college have always been trying to disseminate, to share the creation of knowledge in various ways. So obviously, journal articles, peer-reviewed articles are important, presentations, colloquia, seminars, etc. But books are right up there in terms of sharing and disseminating the really important discoveries, new knowledge that is coming out of the college. So I couldn't be prouder to tell people that we are #1, adjusted for size in terms of book production. So I want to thank Wayne and Julie. Julie's not here, but for committing to this celebration of authorship. Now, we started that, as you know, we have that big poster in the hallway on the 3rd floor that celebrate, and we're getting an update on that.
Yeah, the new one's already up.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the new one.
When did it go up?
About 2 weeks ago.
You can tell because I walked that hall, I'm reading email, checking email, and I know, but I need to take my eyes out of
The new faculty one is.
Okay, that's the one I'm thinking of. So, but we've had that up for a couple of years. So celebrating authorship, focusing on that. Wayne's new book or first book initiative with the kind of, Academy Awards or Emmys of that we distribute. So there's been a real commitment in Wayne's office to celebrate and support authorship of books. And this is maybe not a culmination, but a high profile evidence of that. So I appreciate the effort that you put in on that. And then at the university level, we've been doing it, but there's no reason we can't continue to grow that number, get to, like 1.25 or 1.5 per faculty member in the pipeline. So the support of Central in that is also important. So thank you all for, it takes time, it takes effort. Sometimes, if you're co-authoring or you're doing an edited book, it takes, some diplomacy with the people that you're working with. So I can understand how hard it is. And there's a trade-off. The opportunity cost is sometimes you're not publishing peer-reviewed articles or going to that conference or whatever. There is a trade-off there, and so we should recognize it. So congratulations. This is a great celebration and a nice little tip of the cap to all of you. So well done. So well done. Okay.
Thank you much. All right, Julie's actually out preparing the raffle.
That's what I'm here for.
That's right. Wish we had.
Free books.
That's right. That's right. So looks like first up will be Janet and Chrissy.
I was just saying when we sat down that we really haven't talked about what we're gonna do, so. Do you want to start first?
Sure, yeah. So our book is First Opinion, Second Reactions, a collection of innovative online reviews of literature for children and young adults. And Janet and I have traded off being the head of children's and YA literature journal under the same name for, has it been
17 years now, yes.
And so this is a collection across time of those reviews. And it was really interesting for me. I've had the journal for 8 going on 9 years now. And to go back and see all of the reviews that have happened since before my tenure, even at Purdue, was really interesting. So Janet proposed that we turn this into a compilation.
Yes, and we did, obviously. So I think Phil remembers he was department head when Professor Jill May, who has long since retired, but she was really the originator of the idea of First Opinions. Originally, and then And then she was really interested, Jill was very interested in dialogues and conversations between professors and practicing teachers and parents. And so she morphed the journal or created with me. She asked me to be the co-editor and I said yes. And so, but really it was her brainchild, the whole first opinion, second reaction. So a review written of a children's or young adult book by a scholar in the field, usually somebody in a university setting, and then a response by someone, a parent, a librarian, a classroom teacher who actually used the book with kids. You know, to see, here's what the scholar thinks. Now, what does the intended audience think about this particular book? And so Jill did write a foreword for this book, which was very nice. And she loves the book. And her husband, Bob, is also in the book many times as a historian, writing about historical fiction. So yes, just, I know we're almost out of time, but just what Christy said. So 16 years, looking back, it was really fascinating. The first thing we did is we just went back and read every single issue again. Wow. And we also had a few graduate students of Christie's who were extremely helpful in helping us to organize, but we couldn't do them all. There was no way. We had to pick about 5 or 6, I think, in each category, and we have 4 different categories. And so to look back and try to think about, you know, what are the trends, what were the themes over time, what things kept coming up, what topics morphed and changed, how did they morph and change, how did they stay the same, you know, over 16 years was really very interesting. And probably the biggest challenge was finding all the people again, but we did our best and I think did a pretty good job with that. So we're excited about it. And it was a great collaboration with Christy too. It was fun.
Yeah. Yes, very good. And we worked with Purdue Press, which I think was a really great experience.
It really was. I highly recommend it.
Okay, thank you. That is, okay, so Philly couldn't be here. She's at a conference presenting on this very topic, so I told her I would be happy to share. And it's available as an ebook.
Wow.
The physical copy will be out in a couple of months. But this is really cool because it's she's the editor of a whole book series in this. So I'm just going to read the description here. Continue your journey in trauma-informed education with the 3rd installment of our series, Contemporary Perspectives on Developing Trauma-Informed Teachers. In this volume, we delve into the heart of educational evolution, intentional partnerships to create classrooms that foster equity, resilience, and asset-based approaches. Discover the profound impact of trauma-informed practices on the educational landscape as we challenge traditional paradigms, encourage educators to shift their perspectives from what is wrong with you to the holistic understanding of what has happened. Driven by this deep commitment to holistic student well-being, this edited text is a beacon of hope for in-service teachers seeking to truly understand and address their students' needs. Through intentional partnerships with early childhood centers, K-12 schools, and districts, educators are equipped with the knowledge, skills, and expertise to implement trauma-informed practices rooted in asset-based approaches. By recognizing the profound influence on trauma and student behavior, development, and readiness to learn, educators can forge a path towards true student success. This resource is a testament to the power of collaboration and innovation. Explore essential tools, strategies, and approaches designed to empower teachers in creating safe, sustainable classroom environments. With a keen focus on equity, resilience, and pedagogical excellence, we pave the way for a brighter future in education. And I'll just add that what was so great about Ophelia's work, she's one of the few in the field of English language learner and multilingual learner education that's looking at students from that trauma-informed lens. And as we know, a lot of them are coming from refugee backgrounds and immigrant backgrounds and everything else that's going on. So trauma is a area that we've really neglected in this field. So we're really grateful for the great work she's doing. So thank you, Ophelia.
While Marissa's making her way up, you may have seen that earlier this week, Marissa's book made it into Read Today. And it was great. I sent her the link and she responded like, wow, I didn't even know that was the thing. So, that's awesome. So, yeah.
Do we have my slides?
Yes, probably.
Is there one after that? Let's see if she got them on there.
No.
No.
Oh, I guess you can get them in there. Sorry.
Okay.
I can look, you may have, hold on 1 second, I'm sorry.
Again, at the end of this, the.
Those are none of them, right? Nope, right there.
Oh, thank you so much.
Pardon me.
Perfect.
Thanks. So I want to talk a little bit about the topic of the book, but also the process behind creating this book. So the topic, related to learning experience design, which is a relatively new field that, touches on instructional design, which is what we teach in the LDT program, but has some differences. And I'll talk about how, part of the work on this book was discussing, those differences or the nature of this field. And this is part of a book series, and we often focus on transdisciplinary or cross-disciplinary aspects and encourage people from other disciplines to attend and write chapters. Next slide, please. So one of the major, so the books are always associated with a summer research symposium. And one of the major activities we do during the symposium is that people who have been accepted as chapter authors come with their papers. Everyone's read them ahead of time. And then we have these deep 25-minute sessions with a sort of structured approach to asking questions, discussing the chapters, and giving in-depth feedback. So our process is very developmental. Then in September and December, they again are reviewed by peers that are amongst the book authors. And then after that, there's editor review. So it's a very collaborative process. Next, please. At each event, we also have activities. If it's a face-to-face event, we go on field trips and so on around the topic to help inform us further on the topic. This particular year was virtual, about 40 people attended. And kind of starting point was this definition by the first editor and one of his colleagues of this field: a human-centric, theoretically grounded, and socio-culturally sensitive approach to learning design. And it's informed by UXD methods. So some people believe this field is just instructional design plus UX crammed together, but they're making a more sophisticated definition here. Next, please. As I said, we always have an activity. This year we did a Q-sort activity. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but this is a more detailed description of the Q methodology. If you can go to the next slide, please. And these were kind of in a strange order, I realized as I was practicing. We also had 17 chapters from people around the world that related in different ways to these topics. I just highlighted here one from our PhD student, Belle Lee, and Dr. Victoria Lowell from our LDT program here at Purdue. Next slide, please. So again, talking about the Q-sort, I'm really excited we're going to do a Q-sort for another project. It's a very interesting methodology. So we have a series of statements. In this case, these statements came from a Delphi study that several of the editors have worked on. And basically, you sort the statements from most important to least important. Sometimes these are really polar opposites. I fully agree. Do I fully disagree? They sort them onto the grid, and then you do a analysis on this, cluster analysis. And if you could show the next slide, please. Then it breaks out a different, number of groups depending on how the analysis goes, and they're grouped based on how they lay the statements on the board. So in this case, the best fit was 4 groups, and then you have the groups meet and discuss. They name themselves usually. I think in this case we name them, but often they name themselves and they discuss what brings them together as a group. So here you can see these match a little bit with the definition I showed you earlier. So we had a group of people that really emphasized the socio-cultural aspects of this field and viewed it as fundamentally different from instructional design, what we're doing here in LDT. Another group was very focused on the human-centered design aspect in the design of pedagogy, unlike how HCD is often used, which is the design of more general experiences or objects. This one focused on the multiple disciplines you can bring in. And this one is more, we'll just adapt UX methods to designing instruction. Next slide, please. So these are some of the insights we came up with, but basically this became the introductory chapter to the book. So again, we usually have some kind of activity that helps us define or understand different perspectives around the topic. I wish that this could have been an introduction to next summer's symposium and an invitation to participate, but unfortunately this series has been canceled or sort of changed into something else. But I'm hoping possibly to use a similar approach to our own symposium at some point around a topic, possibly competency-based education. So you can look out for that over the next few years.
How many books you ready to get out of the series?
A lot. We've been doing it since 2010, but initially it was every other year, and then it's been every year. I think we have four. We have four on the poster there from the last
Yeah,
couple of years.
that's fantastic. All right, Sina.
Lines, right? Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. And, thanks to my co-editors. You can't, it's really small, but maybe some of you remember Elizabeth Swazo. So she's been working with me on, we did a special issue in the philosophy of mathematics education. And then there's me, and then there's Melba Grant. She's from Old Dominion University, and Olive Chapman. She's in Canada. And so those ladies made it possible for me to be right here, right now. So, and the authors, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention how great the authors were. But I'm going to just give you a little bit of a snippet of a little history and a little bit of information. So this book is about being, knowing, and ethics. And that's a story that you can kind of see in the title. So the title has the idea of educators' intimate scholarship, which comes from this idea of practice and inquiry. So scholarly inquiry involves looking at scholarship and trying to develop a practice. In my particular case, is a practice of teaching mathematics teaching. So trying to investigate that. And then investigations leading over into implementation in the actual classroom with our Purdue students and other students. So one example of that might be, I have done lots of work on ideas about decimals and pre-service teachers' conceptions of decimals. So that leads over into the idea of what are instructional activities that you can do around mathematics teaching that focus on not just pre-service teachers' understanding of decimals, but pre-service teachers' understanding of teaching decimals. So the scholarly inquiry and scholarly practice become tied. Well, that was all fantastic, and it was a great chapter in my life. But then came the other chapter which I wasn't reading very much about, which was around what goes on inside yourself when you're trying to do that work. You all kind of know me, so you think, oh, okay, she's a nervous person. And I am an anxious person. And so as an anxious person, the things that go on inside me when I'm teaching are really unique to me with all of my history and all of my experiences. But I was never reading about anything like that. And so I identified that as a potential gap in the literature and started to gather lots of people around the idea of how do our personal experiences as human beings intersect with our teaching. So this book is the result of trying to enter into that gap with that group of people. And I'm happy to say that there are 4 sections. The first section is on being, and that section is devoted to 2 particular papers, one between a math educator and a mathematician and doing professional development. When both of them are going through very traumatic experiences in their lives around family. So anybody who's done professional development knows that teachers want to know about you and your family. Well, of course, when that comes up, there's all sorts of things that happen in the collaboration. So this is one story. So you're getting a sense of the intimate. And then the second piece is on embodiment, how you know in your body to move on from something or to stick with something. And there's a particular story that the author is trying to tell about that. The next section is on knowing, and the first chapter is on intimate scholarship with a focus on educating your inner witness. So how it is that you are can know more than you knew in the moment when something in particular happened and you don't feel that great about how you handled it. So how can you go on from that and do better the next time in your own opinion? So the second chapter there is around faith and grading. So how it is that people navigate their faith-based identity in the context of working in different practices. In her particular case, it was grading. The last section is on ethics, and so we have a chapter on reconsideration of white MTEs around race. So how do white MTEs navigate and understand themselves as racial beings in the context of race-based activities that they're engaging the teachers in? And then the last chapter on ethics is around ethical commitments. What kind of ethical commitments do you have if you are afraid to do an activity with one class, but you're doing it with another class? And how does that actually inform how you think about yourself as a teacher educator? Finally, the book has two bookends. One is around the history of intimate scholarship and coming to intimate scholarship from self-based methodologies. And the final one is about resonance experienced by our commentator around the idea of reading them and what it was that she got from that level of intimacy in those experiences. So I encourage you to read the book. The first chapter is free. And so you can go online and get it. But thanks so much to the Book Initiative and to my colleagues for making it happen. I also have
You have a
to.
slideshow?
So,
No.
oh, there we go. Yeah. I didn't leave put the picture in the table of contents. I just showed the, chapters. So this is the book. We're very excited about this. Sonia Quall from University of Florida State, asked Susan Newman to do a handbook for younger students on the science of literacy. And when that was completed, Susan thought it would be really useful for us to have something that dealt with students in older grades. And I think this is really important because right now there's an incredible amount of attention being focused on the youngest and less attention being focused on older students, even though older students who do struggle have different experiences. The other thing we wanted to do with this book is, and you can see each section. I'm not going to go through all of the chapters, but the first section purposefully is what does the research say about language and vocabulary? And we wanted to front language because, again, I think there's very odd discussions going on in the social media world where I see people saying, well, you can love to read and not be able to read. And that's true. And on the other side, you see discussions where people are saying, well, if you don't love to read, why would you read, even if you could? And that's also true. And my colleague, Kay Stahl, and I have created an update of Jean Charles' models, stages of development. And I think one of the big problems is that people tend to focus on pieces of the literacy puzzle rather than looking at it holistically, not whole language, but holistically. And when you look at it holistically, you see how all these various pieces help one another to develop. So one of the examples I use is if you're reading Make Way for Ducklings and you're talking about the little ducklings' names, they're like Quack and Mac and Knack and Lack and I can't remember all of them. One of them's Whack. You're learning about rhyming. And you're learning about books and how books are read. And you're learning that the print carries the message. And all of those things are so important for the youngest students. And then as you move on, yes, of course, you at that novice stage, we call it, you need to really focus on figuring out all the things that help you decode the text. And that decoding continues, but differently with older kids, because you have to look at multisyllabic words. You have to look at morphology. There's different things that students need when they reach more difficult vocabulary in content area reading. But now Duke's work has shown us that using content area informational text with the youngest help them build that base. And that helps eliminate some of that difficulties that students find in fourth grade. So all of these can work together rather than saying, yes, we need this piece. Yes, we need this piece. Yes, we need all the pieces. So if you don't mind going to the next slide. And there's our free sample chapter. What does research say about text complexity and comprehension? Our research has shown that if you have more complex text, students, even if it's not at their reading level, can read those texts if you give them some. So that allows them to read more challenging material, which again, lessens the likelihood that there's going to be a gap. Okay, next one. We have one section specifically on struggling readers and multiple ways of helping those students who are older get the kind of support that they need. In my case, well, it'll be in the next section, but in my case with fluency, I worked with lots and lots of kids who had fluency difficulties. Great decoders, couldn't read connected text. And when we put them in connected text with support, they made huge gains very quickly. So how does that play into it? We have Sharon, Margaret Vaughn here. Sharon Vaughn actually did our intro. So we have lots of really famous names from, oh, my fluency is in this section. There you go. We have lots of very famous names from the special ed community. Okay, next one. Again, something that we see, we don't see. We see that it is often overlooked. We have a section on writing instruction, which again, we feel is so, so important. And we have multiple approaches to teaching. We have expansive literacies, which include technology. We have the work that Steve Graham has done, which is virtually the basis of all the major reports that have come out on writing. And then if you can just go to the last slide. Connecting that all to teacher knowledge and professional development. In my personal work, I always feel it's critical to connect the theory to the practice. If you can't, and I'm not saying that people who don't are doing bad work, they aren't. But for me personally, if my work can't connect to improving teaching or helping kids read better, then really I'm not sure personally I'm doing the best job I can do. So we have some wonderful, wonderful chapters on that as well. And basically that ties everything up. So thank you so much.
and Dennis Davis, UT San Antonio. So nice to see him in there. That's great.
Oh, neat. Okay, excellent. This is very exciting. Good morning, everybody.
Good Lord.
So I'm actually going to start off by saying that I actually ended up because Rutledge was super persistent, not necessarily that I was super persistent. So I had done one of those paper things at ARA several years ago on a study I had done with Native women that was basically kind of like a retrospective of their experiences in higher education, but not from what we typically study, which is like, so what are the things that are problematic, but more from a like, so what were the things that really worked, right? So like, what was the joy that you experienced, and how did that connect to your identity? So Rutledge reached out to me twice to write a book. I told them no both times. And then they said, well, what if you did an edited book? And I said, oh, now here's an option that I can get behind. And so I did. So I put together an edited collection of women reflecting on and celebrating their presence in educational spaces that ended up being not classrooms. So it's a series of chapters, folks talking about their experiences with their families and how their families kind of inform their educational practice. One chapter is about a student kind of like wrestling with her thesis project and how did she bring her identity into that. I have a chapter about the actual study, and then several folks who work in higher education and how they kind of like bring that, bring joy into those spaces. Two chapters are authored by college education PhD students. So, you know, kind of like spread the wealth around a little bit. And I will say that I kind of lucked out because I had already had my contract with Rutledge when the first grants program was announced. And so I applied for that, received that money, which allowed me to create a series of online writing workshops for all of the authors. So that's what I used my money for. And so we met 3 times and the authors got independent feedback with a writing coach, which allowed us to, as Phil alluded to earlier, allowed us to stay on track. Because we were meeting and we were talking about it regularly. And then when the book was completed, you know, I received the additional, I guess, prize, if I refer to it. And so it was actually like super enjoyable and a lot of fun. You know, some of these folks, some of the authors I do know and some of them I don't know. And so it's been enjoyable to get to know them. But again, like, yeah, the goal was to stay on track. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't say that Molly at the time was the administrative support person who was assigned to us in curriculum studies. And she was very helpful because I said, can you decipher these style guidelines? And she's like, oh yeah, I got that. So in many ways, this book is as it is acknowledged, would not be possible without obviously the support from the college, but then also the Office of Research and the books program. So.
Right.
Thank you.
Did you get a new picture?
All
All right.
It's a photo booth for that.
There's
Yes.
photos of- Yeah. So we've learned, yeah. So, here's the book. So Lau B. Nichols. So for those of you that don't know, that is a seminal case, fought and won at the Supreme Court, which is so telling because of where we are today, back in 1974. So the case is celebrating just past its 50th anniversary, but it's regarded as the birth of bilingual education in the United States. And so for me, having grown up in San Francisco and knowing that the case was fought in Chinatown, San Francisco, was very personally relevant. And I actually worked there as a high school kid at the Cameron House, which was a youth program, and I lived in the basement with lots of roaches and rats and stuff. Been working in the Chinese community during my summers in high school and college. So coming back to that space was super resonant, particularly as a language educator who studies policy, to be able to find out what actually happened on the ground. Because with Lau B. Nichols, when you hear about it, you usually hear about it from the perspective of the Latinx community. that it was a win for bilingual education in the Latinx community. But really what I learned is that there was a really different story that had not been told. And so and I think I have some
Oh, yes.
slides. I just have them here so I don't have to turn my back. You can go to the second slide.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get.
No worries,
Oh,
no, my bad
good.
for not telling you.
Nope.
Yeah, second slide's fine.
Yep.
Great. So the book follows this arc, and what is so fun about bringing people in to contribute to this, I brought in my whole entire family contributed to this project. So my niece is an artist. So she created all the icons for the book because it is a historical narrative. And so there's icons in the book because I flip between looking at primary documents, primary narratives, historical documents. So there's all these little icons that help you walk through that. And the book is divided into these different sections. So she created this visual and the little icons. And the reason that you see the Trans-American building there, which is the financial district of San Francisco, that is adjacent to Chinatown. So we've got this big megatropolis, and what we know is Chinatown, San Francisco. So anyway, that's the arc. The methodology that I used was really different. Instead of doing a language policy book that would be interesting to maybe myself and two other people, Wayne being one of them, is that I really wanted to understand policy as enacted, experienced, and narrated by the people on the ground. So I learned from the Chinese American educators and activists and on the ground in Chinatown. This is a picture in Cameron House where I lived as a high school and a college student in the summer program. And I'm sorry, next slide. And this is Lucinda Lee, who was the first teacher of Kinikimon Lao, who is the lead plaintiff in the case. And here she is in the basement telling Cantonese speaking families about the benefits of a bilingual education, not just within the community, but within the public schools. So we see here that she's in a space that's not in schools, but outside of schools, but very instrumental to what happens in schools. But this is, if we go to the next slide, Lau v. Nichols, the case was basically at the Supreme Court. And basically it was anybody that gets federal funds must do what we call differentiation of treatment for students whose first language is not English. At the time in Chinatown, almost all of the children there were newcomers from the Canton or the Guangdong region, the Pearl River Delta of southern China. And so it was fought basically saying that by not providing services to them, there was a violation of the 14th Amendment and a violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. What's important is that this is happening on the heels of the Civil Rights Movement, right? So there was lots of federal money, there was lots of block grant, there were so many resources, both legal, educational, flowing into Chinatown that made a lot of this work possible. So when the case finally prevailed in 1974, William Douglas stated this: there's no equality of treatment merely by providing students with the same facilities and textbooks, etc. So this is where we have a newer construction, which differs, and if we go to the next slide, with Brown versus Board of Education, which was simultaneously being implemented in San Francisco public schools starting in 1971. So when you talk to people on the ground in the 70s, they said, all we talked about was racial integration. That's all that we talked about. And Lao was this teeny little thing that really bugged and disrupted Brown. And so the difference here with Brown is about educational quality at the schoolhouse door, meaning a compliance officer shows up and says, is this building racially integrated? Yes, no, check. Right, and at the time in San Francisco, 40%, no more than 40% of any one given ethnic group could be in a building. So they really just looked at formula. What was interesting about San Francisco is they had 7 racial groups. Most of the country had 2, white and black, right? My kids grew up in the Indianapolis district, and they identify as Asian, multiracial, but there's no category for that. They're white. Latinx kids are white. But in San Francisco, everyone had a distinct described identity. So anyway, I'm going off on the tangent. So basically, do you meet that 40% criterion? But then Lau v. Nichols looked at differentiation of treatment, right? If you're all in the same room and you don't have the same access to what's being delivered, then we need to do customization of treatment. And what's so timely today is that is the big issue on the national landscape, is we don't do customization of treatment, right? We see it as expensive, and we also see it as being unfair, right? So anyway, I talked to a lot of different people. This is Ling Chi Wang, who has done a lot of work within the Chinese American community and started the Chinese for Affirmative Action. And so he talked about being informed by the Chicago School of Thought. He was educated at the University of Chicago in Berkeley, and learned from him about how he drew a lot from African American activism and scholars, and how that informed his work on the ground at really disrupting this notion of the path of docility of the Chinese community that could just be forgotten. So he talked about remodeling the minority. So next slide, please. So this is Lucinda Lee, who taught first grade, and and at the time the schools were exploding, and if we could go to the next slide, this is her teaching her first graders in a teacher's lounge, right? So they had very little resources. The building was to house, I think the maximum it could house was like 300, and there was like 800 kids in this building. So, and my son found this photo in the archives at Bancroft and photoshopped it for me. So that's how you involve your family. Could you do this for me? So next slide, please. So anyway, this is Edward Simon, who was a civil rights Reggie lawyer based in Chinatown. And he basically pushed against MALDF and the Latino community and said, I'm not going to fight this language case for Mexican Americans. I'm going to do it for Chinese Americans. And he will say flat out, because of racism. I chose the Chinese because they would be a better group to put in front of the Supreme Court. And he's right. And the case prevailed, right? Isn't that sad? So we see here in legal scholarship that Asians are often used as a proxy because of that proximity and adjacency to whiteness. So anyway, it went through the Supreme Court. I'll have you go to the next slide because I'm talking too long. The trifecta. You can see the arc here. Next slide, please. Here we see that the outcome of this is that all at the same time, we have language rights, affirmative action, and voting rights going on at the same time. And so the outcomes were these three things. But I think it's important to note that with language rights and affirmative action, they have moderate legal strength because they fall under the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which is not the Constitution. Voting rights has the most powerful legal force because it falls under the 14th Amendment. And so given it's so timely that this is coming out, because we look on the left, we can see I might even change that to moderate legal strength to low legal strength, right? So Lao is at risk because it doesn't violate the 14th Amendment, it violates the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So there's huge concerns about where we're headed. Okay. Anyway, next slide, please. These are some of the players. Go ahead. That I talked to from around the area, all of which went on to get their doctorates because of Title III money. And sadly, Title III money is on the chopping block right now. So anyway, in the end, that thing that I showed you with the trifecta, I use narrative evidence to demonstrate how they did each of these elements. Next slide, please. So actually you can keep going. Yeah. Anyway, you can see how they arc that way. Anyway, this is a picture of Lucinda Lee's first classroom teaching bilingual Cantonese, bilingual education. Each kid had a little block. And it was the first year of busing, right, at this particular school. So they were in the basement, of course, in 10M. But they drew pictures of San Francisco. You can see the bus here of white and black and Latino kids being bused into Chinatown, where they received a racially integrated education in Chinese and a bilingual education at the same time. So somebody took a picture of that and saved that. And thankfully, right before the publisher said, we need a picture, we need a cover. And I said, you have to wait. And I was really stubborn. And, anyway, so this made it onto the cover. So.
And of course, this was well timed right with the anniversary, and so really appreciate the scholarship of finding these people and talking before they pass away.
Yeah.
So really great time. I had it totally, and that's why I said it's 3 books. They only advertised 2, but you'll see like there's 1 word difference in the title, so.
Hello. First, I want to thank Wayne for doing this. This was a great celebration of what we are and who we are, and thank you. Hopefully it will be next year, because I have the book in the pipeline. Second, thank you for posting a card picture, because I was afraid I would look like 30 years old, 30 years younger. And third, I was a little surprised and disappointed I didn't hear about Calvin and Hobbes this morning, but maybe next year. Yes. Yes, in last year and this year, I had 3 books. In 2011, when I submitted my papers for promotion, one of our colleagues, who is retired now from STEM education, came up to me and said, "Tell me, what are you doing?" Because what I was doing, I was doing research in global citizenship education, and not many people understood at that time, even now, what it means and what we can do with this. So my research actually started in citizenship education, and then progressed to global citizenship education. And all 3 books are, to some extent, that I'm presenting today, are related to citizenship education. One of them is, okay, now we have to figure out which one. The thing is that the titles of those books are, sound alike: Discourses on Globalization and Citizenship Education, and Discourses of Globalization, Active Citizenship and Education. What happened, and this is still mystery for me, for this book, which came out this year, and where Andre published it. And remember our confusion? It was exactly because of it. The principal editor of this series, Dr. Zaida from Australia, I'm responsible for content. He's responsible for working with the publisher. And for some mysterious reason, the word technology, remember, was dropped from, although all chapters here are about citizenship education, globalization, and the impact of technology on citizenship education. I first became interested in the idea of the impact of technology in citizenship education and in social studies education when I, can I let myself on the bed? Actually, this is my 7th book. I also edited 4 special ed issues. And why I was interested in it is because one of the special issues was in research in education and social sciences. And it was about technology and citizenship education 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember that most of the articles there were about digital citizenship and the use of social media. Thank you. However, this book already has the impact of AI, and more AI, how the use of AI in social studies and in citizenship education. The book that came out last year from the same series, actually these 2 books are from the series that is called Globalization, Comparative Education and Policy Research. And Joseph Zaida from Australia, he is the main editor of this book. I actually published in a couple of my chapters in previous volumes. That's why he invited me to work with him. So citizenship education is a very specific area, and again, when we talk about citizenship, we're not talking about legal idea of citizenship, because what is legal citizenship is decided by the polity, by state, by government, but about something different. And the debates in the academic community, in practical community, in the school community, was what is, how do we conceptualize citizenship in general, different types of citizenship, and there are a lot of typologies of citizenship and citizenship education. You know, we usually use discourses to identify different types of citizenship education. Republican discourses, and it has nothing to do with the Republican Party, because it has something to do with the idea of Republican. Liberal discourses, cosmopolitan discourses, critical discourses of citizenship. So the major discussion was about how we conceptualize and how we interpret citizenship and citizenship education in different discourses, in different areas, different environments. But somehow we didn't aspire, but we didn't pay much attention to how all these ideas of citizenship are implemented in practice. And that's why, how do we engage students through different discourses of citizenship? And that's why, that's where this word came from, about active citizenship, and the engagement of students in citizenship education. Both volumes are authors from both volumes came from different countries. Yeah, I can walk through, but from actually one chapter here is very interesting about technology, citizenship education, and Sufism in Pakistan. Very interesting. We never thought about how they can, and it says that the technology helps not only promotes the global citizenship education, but also Sufism in Pakistan. And it's something that I didn't think about. From Pakistan, from Brazil, from Turkey. No, I'm glad Audrey agreed to participate in this project. And the third book is called Teaching with a Global Perspective, Approaching and Strategies for Secondary Social Studies Teachers. The book was, so these two books were published by Springer, and this book was published by National Council for the Social Studies. The first book, this is the second book of this, with this kind of title idea. Because the first one was published in 2005, and the authors of that book was Angie Wilson and Mary Merrifield, one of the most prominent probably people in global education, social studies, international education. So we decided that after 20 years, it's time to update it a little bit. So I had two co-authors, Jane Williams from South Dakota, Barbara Cruz from University of Florida, and we. There are 7 chapters here. I was responsible for, so each chapter addresses issues of global and international education in one of the areas of social studies. History, US history, world history, geography, econ, behavioral sciences, and contemporary issues. So I was responsible for civics and citizenship education, for behavioral sciences, and part of contemporary issues. Yeah, it was interesting to work on all these books. You know, when I work on the books, I always think, why do we have this hierarchy, you know, of importance? Edited, not edited, but articles, chapters, books. Because of course, time-wise, it takes much longer to publish a book. So, thank you again for listening.
I don't. Nope.
Stephanie, okay.
Oh, was it stuff? Oh,
Yeah, do we have a slide for Adrian?
Yeah, I
We
was
skipped the
gonna say, I feel
case.
like-
Yes, is Adrian there?
I don't see.
And three.
Yes, I don't
and
have
three.
to with mine.
Well, that
I was
was-
gonna say, yeah, we passed the.
Yeah.
indicator.
I know, that's what I was like. I'm pretty sure.
Do you want to put up the first, but let's have Adrian go next.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Adrian. for
Oh, that's okay.
sliding Up there.
Up there.
Okay, so the book I co-edited is called the ID Casebook. So ID, or instructional design, represents an ill-structured problem-solving process. And this is what, designers complete as they design and develop instructional solutions to problems. And so research shows that problem-centered methods like case-based instruction helps students facilitate problem solving skills. And so this book is a collection of real world cases that were written by instructional designers that focus on the messy and complex nature of design work. And so these go across K through 12 and informal context, higher ed, and also industry. So we have a lot of different types of design mediums and environments and locations that are covered in the book. So it may be like app design for an arboretum that's for young kids, or a kiosk design in a museum, or high stakes environments like for like aviation, for instance, how you're designing to prepare people to be pilots. Or even like how learning takes place in a refugee camp or competency-based learning. So a lot of different ones, or that also think about workplace considerations like for firefighters, or how do we give like if there's a patient that's neurodiverse at a hospital, how do you send home like the care that supports that individual? So a lot of different settings, different contexts. I mean, we have more of the traditional things like educational gaming for middle schoolers too. But each case is presented, so there's a narrative, there's artifacts, there's questions for consideration. And this is actually the 6th edition of the ID Casebook. The book was initially conceptualized by Purdue professor emerita Peg Ertmer. So I was asked to join the team, which was deeply meaningful for me because when I took the case course with Peg actually, and we used the book, it was a light bulb moment for me. And it's not really an exaggeration to say that it was life-changing for me professionally, because it really reshaped how I thought about how we design learning experiences. And I also reflected back on being a new teacher, and I thought, man, I used to think I had some like creative ideas that were like engaging, but then it allowed me to see like, I wasn't always creating like this connected experience. So it was really kind of, it wasn't always a complete connected endeavor. So it really allowed me to reflect, and then at the same time, develop my problem solving skills and influence the way that I think now, because now I see everything through the lens of problem solving. So, which has really helped with that. So like, really understanding a problem before we jump to solutions, right? But a cool fact about this version is you can see there's 4 different images on the front. And so about this, one of these was actually painted by Peg. So this one right here is by Peg Ertmer. But we asked 4 different artists to create a painting of the same picture, and you notice that they didn't come out exactly the same, right? And which is really kind of this idea about case-based learning, that when learners approach a case or designers approach a problem, that we bring our own set of skills, knowledge, expertise to that. And so we see it differently, and the outcomes can be different. And there's not one single way to solve these ill-structured problems. And so through the discussions that we use with case, based learning, that's really what comes to light, right? There's, that there's power in a good discussion where we can learn from each other. And so, I think the bottom line really is that we would love to be able to give students a variety of design experiences across these different contexts, but because of resources and time, we can't really do that. But the IB Casebook offers a way for us to give students the opportunity to develop skills through vicariously learning from other people's experiences. So thank you for listening.
All right, so is it Stephanie next?
Is that where, yeah.
There we go. All right. So Stephanie really wanted to be here. She had a family emergency come up yesterday, but she did send some prepared remarks. I'll share those. But real quick, I think this is her second book, right? Stemming from some really great ethnographic research that she's done out in the community. This is Cultivating Care, Lessons from a Rural Kindergarten Classroom. And this is my favorite cover, by the way. I just love this book cover. Grounded in autobiographies, this classroom-based narrative inquiry focuses on understanding and meaning of experience. This study is centered on a particular wonder. How does one rural kindergarten teacher experience and embody care in their classroom? From this question, rich and complex stories emerge, interwoven accounts of daily practices, personal beliefs, and relational moments that reveal the lived and told stories of one rural Indiana teacher and her kindergarten students. And then she's got some acknowledgement. She says, with deep gratitude, I thank Cora Jaffe, pseudonym, for opening both her home and her kindergarten classroom to me. Cora, your daily commitment to caring for our youngest and most vulnerable students is nothing short of inspiring. You not only showed up for your students every single day, but you also learned alongside their families, creating a true community of care. I'm especially grateful for the way you welcomed my pre-service teachers into that space, many of whom were preparing to teach older students, yet were profoundly moved by how each child in your classroom felt seen, valued, and heard. You gave them a living example of what it means to teach with heart. This book is for my pre-service teachers. You are the reason these pages exist. Each day I choose you because I see the energy, the hope, and the deep care you bring to your cherished profession. Thank you for embracing the hard and beautiful work of care and for committing yourselves to the children who need you the most. You have answered the call, and I couldn't be prouder of each and every one of you. To all the educators, teachers, paraeducators, support staff, and administrators who show up day after day for your students and their families, your work is seen, your dedication is felt, and your efforts are deeply appreciated. Thank you for walking this path with us and for building community through your care and persistence. We need you and are grateful for you. To my rural friends, your stories and your spirit inspire me every day. Place matters, rural matters, and you remind me why this work is so important. And to my husband, Patrick Scher, none of this would be possible without you. Falling in love with a farmer brought me to this work, and the rest, as they say, is history. Thank you for grounding me and for being my greatest source of strength and inspiration. All right, so thank you, Stephanie. The hardcover should be coming out soon. All right, and then am I wrapping this up?
You are.
Okay, all right, let me bring these down. So I just want to say, I didn't start off the year thinking, I'm gonna write 4 books this year. They just all kind of seem to hit at the same time. So I'll start with this, the foundations. I'm trying to do this quickly. So this is a core textbook. It started because when I was teaching at UT San Antonio, I couldn't find a textbook I liked. And so I was trying to pull from many different sources. And then I had a colleague that used to teach at the University of Pennsylvania, and I was using one of her readings in my course. And she happened to be in San Antonio speaking at a local conference. And I said, hey, why don't you come and give a guest lecture on your book? So she did, and then she stuck around in for the rest of my class. And then she had left academia and started a publishing company called Caslon. And she said, how would you like to write a book? And that was like the furthest thing from my mind. But she twisted my arm, and it was a long, painful process of a few years, but finally got the book out, and it's now in its 4th edition. So it really does cover research, theory, policy, and practice. So everything from what do these teachers really need to know to how should they be putting into, these things into practice. And so one of the challenges with our field is we can't decide what to call the kids. We keep changing policies, and even though I was writing, the elections were happening and things have been shifting. So as Trish can attest, it's a very difficult field to keep up with, and especially to present kind of different perspectives on many different debates within the field. So that's been a challenge for this one. But the lesson I think for this one is, build your networks, right? Because you never know who's gonna walk into your classroom and what they might offer. Yeah, okay, I can talk about this one next. So this one is similar to Christy and Janet's book. It's Research and Reflections on Southeast Asian American Education Advancement. So I have actually Phil to thank for this, because you probably don't remember this, but you can go to one of the dean meetings, so you sent me in your place. And that's when they first started talking about the book initiative. And they had all these crazy ideas like, oh, let's just get people's lecture notes and turn them into books. And I said to Beth, McNeil at the time, I said, Beth, you already have online journals that are published by Purdue University Press. You have content that's already high quality, peer reviewed, then edited. We could quickly turn that around into a book. And she loved that idea. And so this is kind of the test case. I shared that idea with Janet, and she jumped on that with Christy on this one. And they turned out to be really remarkable books. So what's special about this one is, for my online journal, the Journal of Southeast Asian American Education Advancement, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary. And it's also the 50th anniversary of Southeast Asian refugee resettlement in the United States. Trish has one of the chapters in here, one of her early publications on Burmese refugees, which is fantastic. And just a quick plug, one of the co-authors is Brian Tawada. Hopefully you've seen his name up on the screens. He's a Laotian American poet. One of the, I think the only Southeast Asian American poets to get like an ADA top honor. He's gonna be on campus all next week as our poet in residence. He's gonna be doing some workshops. He's also bringing an exhibit called Lao America at 50. And so he's got some really cool artifacts, including some stuff about the Lao family and King of the Hill. And so I encourage you to check those out as they come in. So that's that one. Okay, this one is an edited collection. And it's called Language Diversity Policy and Social Justice in honor of Terrence G. Wiley. So you'll notice it's got some of the nasty words in there, right? Diversity, social justice. So by language diversity, that means there's 7,000 languages in the world. By social justice, it means people should have the right to use them, to learn them, and to teach them. So really radical stuff. Terry Wiley was my advisor at Cal State Long Beach. And he has a connection to the next book I'll mention. But what's really cool about this book is the contents are written by his former students, his former colleagues, and others that he's collaborated with closely. And he had careers from Cal State Long Beach all the way to Arizona State. I had a privilege of having him as my advisor at Cal State Long Beach. And then he took me with him to Arizona State when he got from the offer over there. As I'll do my PhD there. And then he went on to be the director of the Center for Applied Linguistics, where Jennifer Wren worked before she came to us. So Jennifer's got a nice chapter in here as well. And so each of the chapters are focused on areas that were very close to Terry Wiley's scholarship. We talk about how we built on his scholarship. So one of the chapters I have in here that I wrote with Bharat Chan is interesting. It kind of is a full circle moment, because we did a linguistic landscape of Cambodia Town and Long Beach. And it was through my connections with the Cambodian community in Long Beach that I met Terry, because I had known a professor at Long Beach City College who was running refugee programs. And he said, oh, you should go talk to Terry Wiley at Cal State Long Beach. So I went and knocked on his door. And later I became his master's degree student. Later I became his PhD student. And so again, these little opportunities have come up. You never know where they're going to go. All right, and then last but not least.
Oh, I don't have a slide for the last one, sorry.
Okay, so I'm just gonna slide too, that's fair.
Oh, wait, there.
Oh, we do have that, okay.
Yep.
So this is an 8th edition, so I'm pretty close to the 6th edition here. Foundations of Language Education Bilingualism. So what's very, very unique about this book is I read this book as an undergraduate when it was like in its first edition. And the 2nd and 3rd edition, I used those in my master's degree program. By the time I got into my PhD program, it started citing my work. And then in the 5th edition, I was invited to update the chapter on the United States. So Colin Baker, renowned scholar, he's in the United Kingdom. He comes from a Welsh background. And he wanted someone in the US to help update because he couldn't tell what's happening in the United States. You guys keep changing everything and doing crazy stuff. I didn't know it was an audition, but basically he was so pleased with what I did that he invited me to join him as a co-author in the entire book, because he was getting up there in age, he was retiring, and in the United Kingdom, when you retire, they take away your library card. So he couldn't even access the resources he would need So, yeah, I think it's a good idea. It's like, you're retired, go retire. And so he graciously reached out to me and invited me. And if you've ever seen that scene in Wayne's World when they meet Alice Cooper and they're like, we're not worthy. That's how I felt when Colin Baker asked me to join him as co-author of this. But the publisher flew me out to England. We got to spend some nice time together. And one of the things that's kind of cool, so Colin has a music background. He's an organist for his local church. I pretend to play the French horn. And when I said, he basically gave me free license to just take a hatchet to this and just cut things down, add new things. And I expressed concern about that. He said, Wayne, it's about the music, not the musician. I thought that was pretty good. So anyway, this is for you, Henry. Thank you. All right, so at this point, we're gonna form our, you don't have anyone else, right? We get everyone? Yes, okay. And I think just because we're all, the authors all here, you just kind of turn this way. And this is where we really need our participation from our folks online. So please don't be shy about asking questions. And again, you can either post the questions in the chat or unmute yourself.
I've unmuted the speaker, so.
Okay, fantastic.
We're gonna have to step out.
He's got a meeting.
So,
Thank you,
again,
Phil, for being here.
this was fascinating and the degree of pride that I feel right now for all, no, seriously, for all the amazing things that you're doing, the breadth and depth of those topics is remarkable. So I'm sure Cristina was listening and I hope so that message will be part of, selling our quinoa across campus. So we are
It's like a permanent D-word.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have to slip out
Thank
for
you so much,
11:30, so
Phil.
thank you all.
So I'm going to start off with the first question. Mike, did you say something?
No,
Okay,
had pen to make swap out, but that's.
okay, sounds good. So I'm gonna just pose a question to the panelists and then we'll kind of open up to questions. But just, you went through this book writing process for some of you, like Janet, you've written multiple books, a few of the others. What advice do you have for graduate students, for faculty who may be working on their first book or have an idea for a book? So maybe we can start with Sina, we'll just kind of work our way around this way.
Well, my big advice when I talk to people about book writing is that they just don't think they can do it. And so, give it a shot. I mean, trying doesn't cost anything. So you may as well try. And so they don't exactly know how to get started. And there are resources. And so being able to, here at Purdue, we tremendous resources. But even outside Purdue, if you have an idea, then it's just a matter of, like any other idea, getting the word from the person. That's always my advice. Get started.
Get started. I'm ready to get started. I'm sorry. Thanks. Go ahead.
I would be very organized. Especially I don't know what it's like to do a single out there, but doing the edited volume, keeping track of everyone and what state they are, and then, even the period of a year and a half, and some of them, they moved institutions, and you can go track them down. And the other thing is to really examine the publisher. We were kind of stuck with Springer, but since then we've looked into other publishers, and some of them do a lot more for you, or they're a more smooth process. So if you have a choice of publisher, maybe ask around who has had a good experience.
That's good advice. Yeah, not all publishers are created equal. And, sometimes we're excited about the really big publishers, right? Because they have the marketing muscle, but I've found, working with some of the smaller publishers, since they don't have many titles, they're very invested in your book and will do some great work.
And we also had been exploring an open, an online open access publisher. We sort of didn't want to switch midway since we had told people it would be a Springer book, but we asked people and about 90% of the authors said they would like to go with the open access publisher. But a couple people were worried, well, would that count as much for tenure?
Yeah.
Be an interesting question, maybe.
Big question for Cristina too. Yeah, thank you. Adrian?
I would say that in my case, I was really fortunate to work with an experienced team. So if you have someone that, can kind of guide you, like a mentor, that you're willing to work on a project together. And then in my other project, it wasn't necessarily like a mentor, but it was a good collaborative experience to have someone to go along with that journey. That can be really helpful.
Partnering and mentoring. Trish?
So I collaborated with myself. I think the ditto to what everybody else has said. Finding a good publisher, and even bigger publishers, sometimes they have series, right? Like a series in bilingualism or a series, because mine is in a series, like Wayne and Nancy Kornberger are the editors of that. So sometimes you're working with these people that are these meso level people, and aren't like the big main publisher. And those people are usually really devoted to their area. So if you go with Routledge, there's probably someone at Routledge that is leading a series, and they may not work for Routledge, right? So I have a new piece I'm working on, and I'm working with someone who's not employed by Routledge, but he is the editor of a diversity series. And so he's been great to work with, so.
Great, thank you.
I had experience of publishing monograph and book in authorship and edited book. So speaking of each of them, if it is a monograph, if you're the sole author, yes, right. And the good thing about writing when you do it by yourself is that you can express yourself, you have time, which is not exactly the thing when you're doing it in authorship. When you're working with co-authors, make sure that you see eye to eye with your co-authors. Sometimes you have to compromise. It happens. Think about this. If you want to compromise, yes. If you don't want, just keep this in mind. And edited books, yes, technically edited books, apparently they're the most, for me, most difficult thing to do because it takes time, it takes diplomacy, it takes so many things. To work with multiple authors. I was lucky enough to have a chance to invite authors who I wanted to be in the book. Sometimes there are two ways to do that. You can invite authors, or you can send an invitation and then get thousands of proposals. So be careful with this too. Think what you want to do. Yeah. And thank you for mentioning series. Yeah, it's very, and actually, back to what Mercy said, my first two edited books were based on the workshop that I organized at Conference of International Comparative Education. So I turned those the results, the papers that were presented at the workshops into books. So think about that too.
Great, thank you. Kim?
I have 2 or 3 things, but at first I wanted to definitely thank Cristina and the Purdue Books Initiative. I really, it gives me joy because I feel like something that I love to do and something that I feel like is a core part of my scholarship and my professional identity, which is book writing, is now being valued. And not just by words, but by actual, concrete policies and approaches. So thank you so much for that. So I have to say that. I've written single authored, co-authored, I've edited by myself, I've co-edited. This is book number 7. I have number 8 in the pipeline right now, but hopefully I'll submit really soon. And I just say that because I have had lots of different experiences with different publishers, but 3 things, okay, have kind of risen to the surface. And I wrote them down really quickly. One is that if you're thinking about, you have a book idea, I would definitely look at the books that are important to you in that particular area and see who publishes them. And so, just look at the books on your shelf. Who are the publishers of these particular books? That they're books that might be, publishers who might also be interested in your book as well, right? Of course, in academia, at a research one institution, it has to be a peer-reviewed publisher. And so if any of them aren't, you'd have to cut those out. But still, I think it gives you, a good place to start. Secondly, I find it really helpful you can just send in a proposal, just, based on a name you find online. But it's really helpful, I think, to talk to the editor first. Either the series editor or an editor in your particular area, have a Zoom call, have a phone call. Go to a conference and go to the exhibits and make an appointment with that person and chat with them. It just makes a huge difference. And so I would recommend that. And then third, and I just learned this recently with the single authored book that I'm finishing up right now because it's a little bit weird. I was telling Sina about it. So I had some trouble finding a publisher for it because it is about leadership identity development, but it also brings in animal studies. And a lot of reviewers didn't understand. And honestly, I wasn't quite sure myself. So I did have to go to 2 or 3 different publishers before finding one who would publish the book. And so I think part of the issue, and I had to be I was persistent. I really wanted to do what I wanted to do. And luckily I was at a time in my career where I could do that. If I had been an assistant professor needing tenure, it might have been different. But also, I think part of the issue too is in a lot of proposals, they will ask you to put forward names of possible reviewers of the proposal in the sample chapters, right? And so I was in a field that was not really my first field. I was in leadership studies, okay? I'm in teacher education and English education, right? And so I just randomly picked people, and they didn't know why animals had anything to do with it, which was a really good question. And so that was part of the reason why I had some issues. But then when I went back, I really thought about it more carefully. It's like, who are the kinds of people who I think would read this book? And who are the kind of people who could provide like good feedback about it, and really thought about who I put down as those sample. I don't know who they contacted, they could have contacted other people too. You just give ideas like tenure and promotion cases. But I would just recommend thinking carefully about those names.
Great, thank you so much. Christy?
Well, this is my first book, so I don't have a ton to offer, other than if you have the opportunity to collaborate with somebody more senior than you, definitely say yes and don't be intimidated about what that might look like.
Thank you. Sept.
Everyone already said most of the things I would say, right? Write a book from what you've already kind of done. Like, I'm not sure I would have just said like, oh, I want to write a book about, well, in fact, I did want to write a book about it, right? So I had no choice. So, but yeah, I think like thinking about, but now I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun, but also because I'm at a different point in my career, right? And I do want to say that like, while I recognize that the university is investing a lot of resources in this initiative, I have not yet seen the same corresponding conversation take place when it comes to promotion and tenure. So that conversation doesn't need to take place, because if we want people to do this, then it needs to be, it needs to happen across the board, so that the message is consistent. But now I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like, this was enjoyable. I liked it. But I think like using what you've already done is a really good place to start, especially for your first time.
Excellent, thank you. Bobby?
I agree, obviously with most of what people have said. I think definitely writing your own book is easier than editing. So if you have the option, write your own book. I will say that I was very lucky in that one of my mentors included me in a book she had written that was edited. And I met the person at Guilford who was doing literacy, and we got along very well. And making sure not just that you get along with the person who you might be working with, but also that they're a good match for what you think. So like Guilford is a great match for me. I've worked once with another publisher, and they were good, but they weren't as good a match. And so if you can find somebody who's in your sweet spot, that's ideal.
Great, great advice. All right, do we have any questions from the room, or Ted, do we have any questions online yet?
No, none yet.
All right, so again, if you're online, please post a question. You can unmute and Ted will have you speak. Any questions from the room? Yeah,
I have
young,
a
young.
question. I'm working on my dissertation. I wonder if you have any, big, how to say, experience or suggestions on, transferring your dissertation into a possible book. Is that possible?
Yeah, very possible. Anyone here done that? Take your dissertation into a book yet? So I will say that some of the publishers actually have guidelines to help you do that. And I think the main important thing is when you're writing your dissertation, you're writing for an audience of 3 or 4, right? Your committee. And so the big thing is when you turn your dissertation to a book, you have to think about the broader audience. And so the first thing about the broader audience is they don't want to read 30 pages of methodology. Right? Your committee does, but your audience doesn't. So you have to make some cuts there, right? And then you're assuming some knowledge of your committee that a general audience won't have. So you may need to go through there and add, some more detail and things like that. And you want to make the book not look like a dissertation. So it doesn't have to be chapter 1 introduction, chapter 2, literature review, chapter 3, right? So there's ways to kind of do that. I'm actually working with one of my doc students right now, turning their dissertation to a book. And so we're kind of going through that process right now and trying to do that. If you do a 3-paper dissertation, that might be a little bit easier because then those match, what the chapters might be down the line. But it's good to be thinking about it now as you're working on the dissertation. Yeah, about how this could potentially look.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad to join this activity and this is a very, very good one. And I am actually in my very, very early career stage. This is my first year at Purdue.
Yeah.
Joined at a Department of Educational Studies and I'm in the research methodology area. So I was planning to ask, well, what's the best timing to think of publishing a book? But I realized probably the answer is, there's not a single answer or like the answer probably inconsistent across different people. But I wonder, maybe a better way to phrase that is there a relatively better timing? I mean, because I need to work on my tenure and do you think it's better to do that, think of that before tenure or like maybe post tenure?
We'll have a former department chair answer that.
I think two things. I think it depends on your department. For one, I started my career in the English department across campus and a single authored monograph you had to have it to get tenured. And so if that's the case, obviously that is not the case. And I don't think in education so much. So think about your department. If it, kind of what Stephanie was saying too, if articles and peer reviewed journals are really the number one premier kind of thing that they're looking for, I would personally recommend starting there. Also, think about where you're going to publish. I find that some publishers have a really long turnaround on when you put in your proposal and when they even tell you whether or not they're going to send it out for review. And then you have to wait again another 3 or 4 months if they review it and then again and again. And so, but other publishers smaller ones that are also peer reviewed, seem to act more quickly. We had a great experience with Purdue Press here, too, and they were very fast, I thought, and that's why this came out. So, in part why this came out so quickly. But so that's just a couple of things. Mostly I would talk to your department head about what the recommendation is there. I would say if you're in your first year, though, you could definitely have a book in press in 6 years, out in 6 years. I mean, it depends. Are you working from a dissertation? Are you just modifying? Are you starting from scratch? Where are you in the process?
Yeah, that's great. I'll just echo that too. In fact, even as a book series editor, when I get somebody that's fresh out of graduate school, I say, it might be better if you get some articles published off the dissertation first, and then turn around and do a book. And the reason is because a research journal article has to be original first publication. Book publishers are pretty flexible with allowing you to take an article that's already been published and getting permission to, adapt it or revise it for a book. And so if you do plan to publish off the dissertation, because articles in your field, research articles are going to carry more weight for tenure promotion. And so the time and effort that you could spend working on a book, if that could be spent getting 3 or 4 articles out, you definitely want to do that first. But then again, you can do it in a way that will then build towards a book later. Yeah. Or if it's something like Janet said, if it's something that's already together that really wouldn't be that hard to pull together, that's good. And so, for example, one thing we didn't mention, as far as tips is, let's say you're organizing a symposium for a conference. That can easily become a book, an edited book, because you get the people who, did the presentations. It was around a coherent theme. If a lot of people showed up, that shows there's interest, and that could easily be turned into a book. So, look for quick and easy ways. I know Christina's always looking for, what's a quick way you can do a book?
Well, and it's so helpful to have some funding in the summer too. I think,
Yeah,
to be
absolutely.
able to actually work on it, but and not have anything else.
Any questions from online yet? Any others in the room?
Can I ask a question as to other
Absolutely,
authors?
yeah.
So how do your different publishers handle indexes?
Oh, so mine said they would pay for it against the royalties. And I was like, I don't even know what the royalties
Right.
are, so I'll take that bet.
I've done that before. That's Rutledge, right?
Yeah.
That's how they do
So
it.
Christina's gonna do a closing.
Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
we
how
have the
royalties are
separate
giving
for
me,
the
but I do
drawing.
not know how to index. I do not want to
What's that?
pay for an index. I'm not doing
Okay,
that.
all right.
Springer did not give me
I'm gonna
that
let the lunch
option.
people
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine.
So I had to learn how to use the indexing software myself.
Wow. So they gave you
Did you do
software?
that?
They gave you
There
software?
is actually software, through Microsoft Word that will help you to index,
Oh,
but it's not easy to learn.
Interesting.
I just wonder what other people were.
Yeah, I did the same things that Stephanie did.
Yeah, they gave me that option. I was like,
So,
you're right, going, yeah.
Basically, yeah, I'm in a negative balance now for my royalties, yeah, but the thing is because I had so much stuff that was not in English. Right, like things that were in Chinese that got misunderstood, there's things, so I had to look at it very, very carefully.
Right.
There was some stuff that I'm like, what? So I think that they probably threw it into some sort of bot and
That's what they
just
do.
pushed it out,
Yeah.
right? And so I had to go back and really carefully.
There's such a-
But yeah, I did not want to spend my time doing that.
It's so time.
It's very time consuming.
Guilford and Mountain Bay both had people, intellectual people that
You
I
didn't have
have a
to pay
freelancer
for it.
that I work with.
I didn't do it, same thing off of the
I
royalties. but they-
contacted I couldn't find a freelancer who would do it.
Yeah, Rutledge has their.
Okay.
So they.
Well, I mean, outside of the publisher, like, just I would have been willing to use my Purdue book money to pay for one, but I couldn't find it.
We have now a list of indexers.
Oh,
now.
excellent.
Second by Purdue Press, so we share the resources, people share that resources.
That's helpful.
Very, very helpful.
You should leave before lunch? Okay. Well, we can't come back and grab one.
Copy editors. It's trying to find copy editors and interview company copy editors. Just really difficult.
But I don't think we know anybody specializing in discipline, it's like
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
If you have a doc student author, they make great indexers. So, yeah, one of my doc students helped with the indexing on a couple of my books. And then depending on the book, like if it's a best-selling, then the publisher can afford to hire an indexer. Others, yeah, you gotta do it on your
And it
own.
depends on the book too. I mean, some books indexes are more important
Yeah.
than others, so.
Mhm. Yeah, really good questions.
I did want to mention, you brought up copy editors, that Springer, I mean, we really had to copy edit it ourselves.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's everyone's experience, but.
No, Rutledge frustrations with that.
Yeah, Guilford does too. And
Everything I've done, I've had to get a copy of it.
Mhm.
It has been really hard to find people that can do it.
Yeah.
There's one copy editor that didn't like swear words in articles, and so she just took them out without telling me. So when the author.
Did you swear at it?
The author was really, I thought the author was gonna swear at me. Because she said, why did you do that? I'm like, oh, I assure you, I did not do that. That would give me a terrible reputation.
Now I really want to read
Yeah, exactly.
about math education.
And that one's free and online. That's
Okay.
the philosophy of math education.
That's interesting. Yeah, I had to push back on some copy editors, It's like, we're gonna use British spellings. I'm not British. Any other questions? Anything from online yet?
Jill says, thanks all, need to read. Great information and work.
Thank you, Jill.
Thanks, Jim.
So we're getting lunch set up. Maybe one last question I'll pose to some of you. Yeah, please.
I will say what I found, you know how, like, if you have children, you're kind of like, oh, you're just gonna let me leave the hospital with this child. I actually felt the same way about signing a book contract. I was like, wait a minute, you're just gonna let me sign this contract with these people? Like, there's like nobody, there's no checks and balances here. Like, how do I know what I'm signing? How do you know what I'm signing? So that part was a little trippy. I asked lots of questions at that point, but they're like, yeah, it's fine. We do this all the time.
I think that is really interesting too, because when I was trying to get, trying to be able to use my faculty account to pay for open access for one of the chapters, then the Purdue lawyers wanted to get involved with the contract part.
Oh,
And so I knew nothing about how
Wow.
you do those
Wow.
kinds of
That's an
things. But then they wanted to know where the money was going, you know, how we had settled on that, the royalties. I'm like, yeah, like, no one's gonna do this, okay? That's why we want an open access chapter. So, that whole process was very difficult because no one seemed to know anything that was actually going on with this. And that was before I talked to Cristina, and after that, you know, fine, but by then, everything was put to bed anyway. So the idea that I don't know about how contracts are supposed to be involved in these things, and I never thought about that before. So I just like sign away. I didn't think a thing of it.
But that's interesting because we pay for open access journal articles all the time.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I guess we don't now because we have that great agreement, but like previously, before we had that agreement, like I had no problem sending, transferring money to a journal for open access. That's interesting that the book part
I don't know
Made it-
what the deal
made it
was.
different.
Might be because,
There's royalties.
Oh,
Mhm.
or because there's a set amount for journals and everyone, you know, whereas it might vary
Book,
for books.
Yeah, okay, bigger book.
got it. That makes sense.
Right, and I guess if you're doing an edited volume too, it's not just the primary, it's
Right.
everybody. So you might have like 14 authors that have got to sign
That's
on.
Marissa?
Could those of you who got royalties explain how that works? Cause I'm pretty sure the royalties just went to, the AECT organization and I like.
So it should have been in your contract. Yeah, did the contract say if the royalties should go to ACT or to you or?
Sign the contract, but I sure.
Oh, you didn't
my God,
sign it.
We've had
Okay,
4 or
that's
5
fine.
that I've been an editor on and I've never seen any royalties. I'm pretty sure it goes to the
Yeah.
organization.
I received $7.
I will say, with my Rutledge books, and probably the Rutledge authors are the same, they do pay royalties depending on how many books you sell over the years. And so I'm still receiving royalties from a book I published 20 years ago
Well,
from Rutledge. Now Springer, on the other hand, who is doing the new book, the leadership book, I get $900 up front and that's it.
It's a flat fee. Oh, interesting. Huh.
Okay. And then, I don't know, I have a proposal out with another one that I don't know how that's gonna go yet, but those two are very different. Oh, NCTE, which was a professional publisher, kind of like your NCSS. And CTE paid royalties. I had a book just go out of press last year that was 25 years ago. I would get like $8.
Yeah,
Or like $24 or something. Yes.
yeah. If you have multiple
Yeah.
co-authors or co-editors, it gets divided.
Yeah.
It's,
But the point is that they're different, you know,
Yeah.
depending on the publisher.
If you do an edited book, you can also negotiate to pay the chapter people. So I always do that.
I can do
I mean,
that.
it's not much, but it's
Wow.
200 per person, 250 per person, yeah.
Really?
But
Sometimes I
then
have to
you
fight
get
just for them to
less.
get a free copy of the book. with
Yeah, that's,
publishers.
I mean, but then you're negotiating away your own,
Sure.
so that means I virtually get
That
that.
was the great thing about
Yeah.
Comcast too, they gave
This
every
didn't
single
happen to
person
me, but
a
it's
free
a lot of the publishers are consolidating or buying out each other. And so, I mean, you had that happen with you too, but I know that I had some friends that signed with Brooks Publishing and they were not having a good experience and they had to get out of the contract.
Hmm.
And it was really, really challenging. And they were able to do it, but so there is some sort of like, it's like a marriage. It's like you have to be
Yeah.
married to us. And so, what do you do? So that means you really need to look for your partner very carefully.
Yeah.
But, if it doesn't work out, because sometimes it doesn't, because I think at the time, Brooks had just acquired a bunch of people,
Mhm.
and there was just a lot of messiness.
Yeah, it's all like your sports are
to
gonna be traded to another team, you know,
Yeah.
because the officers didn't have much say in that. They did. Well, we need to have time for our keynote speaker, so thank you so much, Christina, for coming, and you've heard lots of praise already for the initiative, but I'd like you some more time to share. We got lots of aspiring authors online as well, so.
This is me between you and lunch, so I'm trying to be as
No worries.
quick as possible and we can address any questions during lunch. So thank you so much for writing books. I think of this initiative is kind of like a bird, so it has two wings. The authors have to write books and then we try to provide support. So then the bird flies. So we're finally flying, I think, together. And if you have any questions, just Google Purdue Books Initiative. Hopefully we have all the information on the website. I wanted to give you some numbers and context of why the books are. So why do we talk so much about books lately? So this is based on academic analytics. This is an entity that keeps the score, and they are the go-to unit that is used to compare universities. Right, so it's very important, whatever book is written has to show up in this report. That was the first lesson we learned. Many of the books that were written were now showing up in this report. So we had to understand why. If it's an ebook only, it doesn't show up in the report. If it's a self-publishing book, self-publisher, or a publisher that's very small or different countries, not on the report. So learning the lessons, making sure everything shows up in the report card was important. But as you were looking of the numbers for Purdue over time, this is adjusted. This is after we've done all these where's your book? Like you said, you wrote 10 books. We only have records of 3, right? So going back and checking all of that. So initially, when we looked at this report 10 months ago, 11 months ago, the average for Purdue was 64 books. Now the average is 71. So we increased by 10% just by going under the hood and understanding why books are not showing up here. So this is where we are overall with books published since 2016. You see last year, calendar year, it was 64. And we already are, as of today, we have 94 ISBNs that we know will be this year. Next year, we hope to be at 184 more. But I know based on what I've heard today, more of you are writing books, so that number will be higher, much higher. So thanks for doing that. And I know that what we're celebrating today, we have very little to do with that because it takes a lot of time to put it together. So I really know that from now on, we'll start seeing the impact of the initiative. And it's so nice to put faces together. And know who you are. I hope you feel like I just an email away or text away and feel free to reach out to us. Expect 3 more books from your college before the end of the year. So, question about this? Again, you're number 1. So.
That's what I said.
And these are just agreements. So these are actual books that have signed contract and a signed memorandum for an incentive. The pipeline is 400 books really for next year. So we have a lot of people who are in the process of getting to a contract. Just wanted to kind of recap what the type of books are that we make it to the scorecard, right? So it's monographs, textbooks, edited volumes, encyclopedias, and casebooks. Conference proceedings not included. Children's books, cookbooks, lab manuals, study guides, those are not included. But if you want to do one of those, let's start early because then we can find ways to make a conference proceeding into an edited volume. So we're very creative, like the sky's the limit. If you have an idea, let's see how we can make it happen. And then the author classes, just be very careful. You have to be listed on the cover and in the metadata for the book as author, editor, or translator. So you have written a book, maybe you speak another language, and there will be an audience for your book in another language. If you translate the book, that counts again. You get another incentive. It counts in the scorecard for Purdue. Or there's a super interesting book in another language that you'd like to translate to English or Spanish or another language. that would count too. So as long as you, as a tenure track and clinical professor or a translator, that book counts again. So that opens up other possibilities. The publisher has to be on this list. The list is not something that Purdue maintains. It's the list that is visible to academic analytics. The list is really long, but occasionally we find some that are not. So it's important when you sign a contract, just to make sure, let's check early on that they are on this list that academic analytics sees. And then right now, the time bound, the constraint is to have an accepted manuscript by December 2026. If you are working on books that will be completed later, please go ahead and work on them. We hope the university will continue the initiative, but we're working kind of like 6-month intervals. So in December, we're gonna start saying, well, it's kind of impossible to finish the book now in 12 months, so let's extend by 6 more months. We want to know about your book. We want to add it to the pipeline so that I can argue with the university administration. There are books, continue the program, it works, supportive people. So the steps we're following are publisher, find a publisher, get the incentive agreement, offer some support services, and then help you publicize. I want to start with this because this week I'm so proud. Purdue today agreed to do 2 books a week. I think that's a major victory, major victory. So we have to fight for that, if you can imagine.
Which is bananas, given how much resource the university
I
is
know.
committing to this project.
So
Like, it's just bananas to me.
Some things are like, so we're very happy. It'll be two books we're going to start seeing every week. We're trying to work with the college's social media teams that as soon as you see the imprint, boom, post it on the college, copy Wayne, tag the author, tag the publisher, tag the dean, tag us. So we can make a big wave of publicity just on social media, which costs nothing. But that's the other one, like, it costs nothing, let's just do it. So very happy, and we are trying to rotate among colleges, so each college gets kind of represented periodically and be as close as possible to the actual publication date. So that's the logic we're trying to, sometimes, it works, sometimes it doesn't. Other things I wanted to address based on the comments you had. So when it comes to finding a publisher, we have developed very, very good contacts now at Springer, Wiley, Rutledge, Taylor and Francis, CRC, Kendall Hunt, World Scientific, and maybe Bloomsbury. So those are the ones where we have a dedicated person, a point of contact. And every time we get a proposal, I send it to our contact at the Springer, for example. I CC the author who put together the proposal. And I say, hey, we have a proposal. Please let us know if there's any interest. And they respond the same day or the following day. And they say, we got it. It's routing to the appropriate editor. And then hopefully you hear back from them in a day or two. They schedule a meeting, they talk to you. So they are very, very responsive and very interested. But we don't have contacts with all the publishers. So if you feel like there is a publisher we should know as an entity, as a university, that we could just connect at the higher level, so that when they hear they see the Purdue proposal, they react very quickly. I'm more than happy to meet with those and make it easier for others to get contracts and get the review fast. So I tell them, I don't really expect that you'll give contract just because it comes from me. I just need a very quick answer, yes or no. Because if it's yes, then we know it's moving. If it's no, fine, we go to the next one and the next one. So we always have options. Any book you can come up with, any idea, we're gonna help find a publisher for that.
So Cristina, so you suggested it's much better and faster to do through you than individually.
For these, we have developed connections with, right? And it's typically the ones that we've seen webinars from. So if you notice, we try doing a webinar a month or two. Those with webinars, we have very, very good connection with them. They respond extremely fast. Purdue Press will do open access for free. So if,
Incredible.
if you need open access, they will do that to you for free. If you need peer review, they'll do peer review. If you don't need peer review, they will not do peer review. So you completely own that, and I'm so happy to see all the feedback you're telling me about them. It's wonderful. They are working so closely with us, and the production from Purdue Press that will show in the report card is exponentially increasing now. Contracts. So we had a webinar maybe a month ago with Donna Ferrulo. She's the copyright and contract expert at Purdue, and she walked through like what you should look for in a contract. So that's posted on the book's website. You can also email her and say, Donna, I have a contract. I really don't know what to do with it. And she's very responsive. We also put together a flyer with the top things you should review in a contract. And Donna agrees with our flyer. So typically you should look for, am I giving you rights for just English or any language? Is it just for this edition or any editions? Is for distribution in the US or worldwide? It's just little things that you can make decisions one or another, and it's not a good or bad way. It's just your choice what it is. I've seen contracts where they give you upfront money for including in subscriptions. So if you're published with Springer, they're going to sell it one by one, but they will also include your book in bundles. So you're going to be compensated for that. So you want to make sure they put the flat fee for including in subscription to libraries and universities. Royalties, that's not going to be a big differentiator, honestly. I think it's about publicity, what kind of publicity they'll do for your book. That would be the big differentiator when you consider one book or another. So a larger publisher indeed has more opportunities to advertise your book and make it more visible. Timelines. So it's very important to know how long will they take after you give them the manuscript until they publish. So we have learned that if you work with an academic press like MIT, Cambridge, Oxford, they take a lot longer. It could be 12, 18 months, sometimes longer. So that's not working so well for our purposes because we need to show results right away. So that's why we developed the connections we developed with Springer, with Routledge, with Taylor Francis, with Wiley, because they are a lot faster. Like typically 6 months after they have the manuscript, we can expect to see the book published. And we tell them, we're partners, right? We give you proposals and good ideas, you help us publish quickly. So if it's all equal to you, I would recommend going with the trade press, not necessarily an academic press.
Okay. Did you have the same comment for Purdue Press or?
Yes, Purdue Press has committed that everything they sign that is part of the initiative will be no later than 6 months. So will be printed and available. Yes. So that's what I'm finding a publisher. Let's talk about incentive agreements. So incentive agreement, you're aware, 25% upfront as soon as you have a signed contract. That is pretty much the validation that the book is going to make it. There's no way for the book initiative to decide what is a good book and a not so good book, so who should get the incentive. If you have a publishing contract, that's a great book. And then you finish your manuscript, you give it to the publisher, there's some back and forth, we need this, we need that. They finally say, we have everything we need, is moving to production, send us that email, and that releases the last 75%. You can take some of the money from the incentive to pay for some services. So you can pay for an indexer. So just be careful when you say, how do I want to receive my money? Say, let's put 2,000 into a discretionary account, right?
Oh, so you can do that now?
Yes.
Okay, yes. When I got my incentive, we could not do that.
Right.
Oh, that's great. That's an excellent change. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
We're learning, right?
Yeah,
So
no, that's great.
we're like,
That's a great.
why couldn't we? Let's do it.
Yeah,
So-
that's awesome.
So, and if you have multiple authors, co-authors, each one of them can take it half and half or whatever
That's awesome.
distribution you want. So that way you don't have to pay out of pocket after you pay taxes on your own.
Because the thing is, if you take it in salary, it is taxed.
Oh, I know. Mine was taxed. Like, I know that.
Yeah, right. So that's where just keep some aside and you can keep it like part of their second installment and put that into a discretionary so you can use to pay for some expenses, really like a copy editor, indexing. But in the contract, try as much as possible in the contract to tell them you should do the index, you're Springer, right? Or you're Taylor and Francis, you do the index. So make it very clear. Don't leave that like out of the contract because they'll say, oh, it's your responsibility. So let's come back to support services. So you have the contract, you have the incentive, then that unlocks some support services. So we have a team of 4 students, undergrads, 2 who have experience in graphics design and 2 who have more experience copy editing. So we can do some graphics, we can generate alt text or images, we can help a little bit with permissions, but it gets tricky because if we have to pay for those, it has to be one of your credit cards, like the departmental credit card or your personal credit card. So we can't use that, but we can tell you, hey, it's going to cost you $200. So we can do that research and, you can decide, well, I want to use a different one, we can do the art log and they can do proofreading, like make sure punctuation, formatting is there, but copy editing, that's a very specialized skill. And I don't think our students can do that. I don't think you'll be doing your book of, just as having the undergrad sophomore copy editing your specialized book. But you can hire freelancers and we have some lists. We're building now lists of people who can help with that specialize. So I just ask, we share resources with Purdue Press and we have, if they recommend somebody, then that means it's a good person to have. So I wanted to quickly talk about some different kind of book projects, right? So you are all very good at writing edited volumes, research monographs, textbooks, but there are a lot of other type of books out there that we can consider. So the lecture notes, we take your slides and recordings, if you have that online, we can run them through an AI tool and we give you a draft of the book. You can edit that draft and tell it's exactly what you want. Those, for education, those books will go through Purdue Press. I don't feel like other publishers would be as interested in something like that. So Purdue Press will be the go-to. Dissertations to books, again, we had Emerald Publishing is interested in that. I think we are piloting, your college is piloting a dissertation to book project. And there's also a webinar on that on our website about how to get that done. The faculty member has to be a co-author though. So if it's, again, if it's just a PhD student who graduates and goes someplace else, it's never going to show up in the Purdue scorecard. So you have to find a project that is valid for the advisor to be listed as a co-author. Casebooks, so happy to see there's a casebook. So more of those. Taylor and Francis is quite interested. Translations, we talked about that. The College of Liberal Arts is working on compilations of works done by the student. So they have to write essays and papers for a variety of reasons. They have hundreds of those every year. So we're going to take like the best of and come up with the annual student research compilation for history or for philosophy or for political science. So if you have similar activities with your students, those could become annual books as long as they're edited by a tenure track faculty member. Special anniversary. So we have chemistry, 150 years, galleries, 50 years. I'm sure you have some anniversaries too. I know you'll have a big anniversary in 2028. It takes a long time to write a book. Why don't we start now? There's no book on the College of Education history. I did my homework. So let me know. And for those books, those would be a different model. That's where you come up with a team of authors, and then we would hire a professional writer to go through annual reports, to interview people, to find articles and on the archives, and they'll come up with drafts of the book, unless you want to take time to write that. That would be very quick and easy and interesting. We talked about you're organizing a symposium, you have 15 papers. I would say tell them the first 10 to 30 minutes to give me the draft, make it to the book. There you go, self-selection. We can play the bad cop. So if you do edited volumes, somebody in our team for education disability, she can be the bad cop. So you can draft the email, so it's exactly what you want, but she can keep sending it to your partners.
The professional language.
Right, so that way you're not the one,
Who's told?
you know, who's calling you. It's like somebody that. And then unique program monograph, so I'm thinking of Jerry's. Or I'm sure there are so many other programs, and again, you can do it as an editing volume, everybody writes a chapter, or we hire a writer to just go through lots of information materials and co-author with the program director, so that's all I have. Thank you so much for your attention.
Are you sticking around for lunch?
Absolutely.
Good. So she'll be here for lunch if you have more questions and everything.
I like your graphic. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that graphic.
If you want more copies or your free copies in the contract, you can ask your editor and say you're using them for promotional purposes, say you're giving them to influencers, you're giving them to professional societies. You can put that in the contract and they'll give you more copies.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Cristina. For copies, go and get the new process. Yeah, which is great. So here's what I propose. We have the stuff ready for the drawing, but let's grab food first before it gets cold, come back, and then we'll do the drawing. It's still there. All right. If you are in the building, please come and grab some food here in the room. We're going to start the drawing. So if you're in the building, please come and join us. I know you're hungry. Come on down.
Everybody, can we get something to eat so she can get, she's got enough.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but there's also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so we want to get a picture with everyone here.
Well, whoever you wanted,
Yeah, someone grab your book and stand in front of here.
Yeah, we need to do that.
but I'm gonna turn this.
I think so too. Okay, go through, because once we turn it, you can't get through. But that, yeah, I just.
You're gonna have to walk all the way around.
Yeah. But you're kind of the idea, we don't want people walking in front of us as you start shooting.
Ooh.
Yeah, cheers.
How far back do we need?
So Wayne, who did you want in this? Because I called you.
If the sauce is awesome, because I don't eat meat, and the other thing doesn't have any kind of protein.
Getting is me.
Okay.
That other thing, that's for people who don't have.
That's not very well yours.
Hey, I know, well, I've got permission to people, so I don't think to like
Yeah, oh, so.
put them on a, some people. Yeah.
Taller people. I never know what. But it's.
Here, and it's something you want to describe my painting.
Which one?
This one, the one right there.
Oh, there.
Yeah, thank you.
Should you come this way? This way, everybody move this way, slow, and you guys move this way. You have to closer than you probably.
Yeah, we got a buttons.
Maybe I can stand in front of it. Okay, now turn a little more. Yeah, let's see.
Your face.
I actually need you to all get.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can sit.
Go back.
Yeah, she told me to move out.
I need Stephanie in a little more.
Okay, can you-
Can you turn a little sideways so I can see your head better? Okay, there we go. I think that's good enough. That's probably good enough. Okay, everybody look
Well,
here.
that's actually good.
Smile, college of education, most authors of anywhere, yay. Keep those books coming. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Now,
Congratulations, everyone.
it's looks like you're going wrong stuff. Believe me, it's been.
Oh, this is drawing.
We're gonna do right now. Yeah. These people got food.
Really hoping we don't.
Yeah, I one too.
This is.
You know what it is?
I don't know. That's true.
Winner. Oh, and I have an extra one.
Okay, good, excellent. Yeah, you'll be the one drawing the name, so when you come up, you can raise your hand.
So did they like put in which one?
Yeah, so when they fill up the thing, they put which ones they want. Oh, yeah.
I didn't actually sign up.
I signed up for all.
I didn't know if that was,
Oh, yeah. They do,
Which one did you sign up for? Which ones were you interested in? Okay. So we're gonna do these in order.
Can you share the, like, you know, the importance?
Yeah.
So we can, but I realize that I have training.
Very excited.
got here.
Back in auto. Just foundations. Yeah. Because I guess like change most of the time.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
And then I studied bilinguals like first of all.
Thanks for your help yesterday, Ted.
Oh, my pleasure. We'll take care of the others, that one of the, like, the readings we had on this.
Yes.
At the time. And I thought. Like, yeah.
So
I
amazing.
just realized
to
that-
see everybody's idea all that together. I love that.
That's hilarious.
When I'm hearing about everything.
You know, it's funny, I don't know.
Read that, I'm like, where, what time?
Hey, we're in class.
I got Jones with a lot of teacher identity. So I definitely want to read your book. I hope I get
Most of the things we.
Really interested.
Now studies,
Yeah.
like, there's.
I've always wanted that.
Some of them like seized, and then that goes into your mind, it's, okay, if I'm reading something of someone,
Yeah.
I might not see that person. So it's just like a name that I know.
Yeah.
Theories, but then,
That's what I love about going to like conferences,
right.
because you actually see your reference list walking around. It's like, I cited that person.
I'm getting a lot of.
It's, yeah, I even get starstruck doing some of the people I decided.
Especially for the two credit hours.
So I said before, but it was like a new style.
Vision, so I'm gonna a lot of people.
Appreciate that. So how many years do you have left in your program?
No,
Hopefully too,
interested to see what they think.
It's like you're already.
There is, and
Yeah, what we're there.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll grab some food. We'll do that.
some people are not doing anything for 2 credit hours outside of the 2 credits, and other people do tons of months.
yes.
If you're gonna have a.
So that was nice. I have some excellent news about the commercial. But if you're not going to LA, you'd be excited to hear this. Right on the gate. Oh, the news is that our scores on NPBA over a year.
Hey,
help
yourself. Appreciate it. Please, go ahead. No, thank you. Thanks.
Significantly different than.
Yes, sir.
So.
I
Like.
wanted to-
That's amazing.
Library.
Amazing.
To download.
How is it, guys?
I downloaded the program.
How are those books? Are they
But
good?
still, I can download the full. Let me stop by and I can look at it with you after this. It's in my laptop. So Yeah, I'll still bother you. I'll be there at all. I'll be there often.
At one point, Henry Interesting was working on a proposal for that, and so he might have, a start or some kind of a draft or something.
I think we should pursue it, because if we can get help with archival work and, interviews and stuff like that, put it together, that would be really nice. Plays, we proposed one on, the methods course leads proposed one looking at diversity of philosophical perspective.
Really complicated.
So I'm very excited about it. I hope that so many you guys.
I didn't plan it that way. Well, thank you.
I didn't, I'm not sure if I didn't even get anything submitted, so we'll let the
All right, let's do the first drawing. So Chrissy and Janet, you have one or two that you're auctioning off, or auctioning off. We're not selling it. All right.
You need this chair?
I don't think that one over. Who wants to do the drawing? You can both come up and pick one.
Okay.
But you have to pick one together. That's right. So we're using our Magic College of Education, Teacher Education app to draw from. So this is for
How does that Christie do it? I think
first opinion, second reactions. Well, Mike, you can hold the hat.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I'll hold the book here. All right. So the lucky winner of first opinions, second reactions is
Kala Abia.
Bukala Abia. So if you're online, great. If not, we'll find a way to get to see you. But congratulations.
Yay.
So I think we need to put.
First to her baby.
Wow.
What a gift. That's four boys and a new baby. Two good things happened to her.
That is really cool. All right. Reach here. All right, let's next do Anatoly teaching with global perspectives. Oh, this one's full.
Wow.
Got lots of good ideas.
Everybody wanted that.
Oh, yes, you can do two. So teaching with a global perspective, that's this.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and we have two to raffle off for this one. Teaching with global perspectives. Go ahead and open and read it.
Fiona Lee. Fiona Lee.
Fiona Lee, all right, excellent. Fiona Lee, all right, and then one more.
Ethan Smith.
Okay.
Caden Smith, all right, congratulations, Caden and Kuna. You guys are the winners of these two books from Anatoly. All right. So, Caden, make sure they don't fall out or we'll never know. Go to. All right, man, let's keep going with you. So.
There's only 11 people online.
Well, so this is for discourse of global education. Yep. And that's for discourse of global education. But do you have it over there?
Blue one in the back, second from the left.
Well, this is discourse of globalization, citizenship.
Oh, sorry.
Do we just have the one?
Said earlier, I think the number said like 17. So.
Yeah, well, that's right, because you didn't do one, so you can do two, so we have two for this one.
I have only one. Oh, I don't.
We're auctioning off this one,
Oh, okay.
and so we have that one, and then you have the other one, the third one.
Plus us.
Okay, and we can auction off all three, right? Okay, so we're gonna draw three names for the discourses of globalization, citizenship, education, right?
No, only one.
Only one for this one. Oh, that's the one with the active.
I saw Marie get that.
Because I'm my.
Your own copies.
Mine has-
Okay, so we're just doing this one. All right, so the winner for discourses of globalization and citizenship education.
Gomez, you.
Thomas Yu, congratulations. Yay. All right, let's do Marissa's book. On down.
Michigan. Oh my God, yes, please.
I went to Bel Air and I'm like.
You have your book?
Because he's up here. You know, I keep them in my fridge and off my office, and every time I want a treat, I just pull one out. I was so sad when I ate my hands.
All right, so this is the raffle for transdisciplinary learning and learning experience design. Let's see.
Now it's all.
Eat too.
Yizu,
Yeah.
congratulations, E. Make sure we get that to you.
Lisa must have signed on something.
Yeah, if you want to autograph them, I bet they would love that. Yeah, that's a great idea. All right, Trish, you ready?
You do too.
Okay, good. So we can have 2 winners for this one. So this is for Lau V. Nichols, Chinese American Language Rights.
Juliana Anguilar.
Juliana Aguilar, one of the faculty members. Yeah,
Okay, okay, great.
excellent. Congratulations, Juliana. We'll get that to you.
And Melinda White.
Oh, Melinda, excellent, excellent. One of our doc students. And get that other one there.
Yep, right here.
Perfect, perfect. Beautiful. All right. Christina, let's do your book next.
Oh, yeah, I put my down.
Yay. Where's your book? Here we go. All right. So this is the raffle for Sina's book, Mathematics Teachers, Educators, Intimate Scholarship, Being, Knowing, and Ethics.
Yay, okay. Esther M.
Esther M, congratulations.
She's in my class right now.
Good. So Esther, there'll be a test on this book. Stephanie Masta.
I have 2. That one and this one.
To the award here. A lot of names here. All right, so this is for Indigenous Voices of Girls and Women in Education Spaces, Celebrating Presence.
Are you one more than one book? Google La Viva?
Was Bukla the one that,
Yeah, she's one.
well, I think so. I mean, that's fair and square. They can name it for more than one.
And then Amber.
Amber Stanley, one of our family members, fantastic. All right.
That your box. She's on.
Congratulations, Bukla and Amber. So you have the other one there, or is it up here? Oh, here it is.
Yeah, I just.
Perfect. All right, Melanie Koo in there. Let's see your book next. Here it is. This runs the contest for the heaviest book. It's the nice hardback. So Handbook of Science of Literacy and Grades 3 through 8. And I love how you said Science of Literacy, not Science of Reading.
Well, it's writing, it's language.
Yay. It's broader.
Oh,
Let's do another one.
okay.
Somebody's really lucky today.
Someone's really lucky.
Nursha Yakut.
Nursa Yakut, congratulations. All right, we'll get that to you. I need Sina to explain to me how the randomness of this math is not working out mathematically.
Not too random if you're pulling them out of a hat.
That's okay, that's the problem. Adrian. And this is for the ID casebook, case studies and instructional design. is he?
Oh, it's Emma, so she is online, so,
Who
yay!
is it, Emma?
Fatima from our program, Emma.
Okay, congratulations.
Yep.
Hey.
Woo-hoo. And if you're here in the building, come and get it.
Sorry. They're, we use it in my class and they were all like, oh, one of us.
Righty. All right, I guess we can do mine. This will be for language diversity policy and social justice, the book in honor of Terry Wiley. Oh, we're not with that. And the winner is Caden Smith. Let's do it, Caden. Congrats, Caden. Get that in there. All right, we'll limit people to two.
Yes.
I will take those out.
I'm definitely not random.
Okay, this will be for the 4th edition of Foundations for Teaching English Language Learners. And the winner for this one is, you can hold that for me.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Mix them up here real good. Karen Hearn, all right, one of our staff members. Congrats, Karen. And if you're smart, you can sell this to an undergrad for half price and they'll save a lot of money. It's
All right,
Karen.
after reading it.
After reading it, that's right. All right, next we'll do Foundations of Bilingual Education and Bilingualism. Mix them up real good. Oops, that one fell out. Put it back in there. Nguyen Lee is the winner of this one. So congratulations, Nguyen. And now research and reflections on Southeast Asian American education and advancements. And the winner is Mohammed Salah Quddin. I think he's one of our new faculty members. Salah. Yeah. Congratulations, Salah. And thanks for your interest. All righty. Trish, can you help me do the drawing for Ophelia? So this will be for Ophelia's book on trauma-informed teachers.
All right, I'll be last one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, for business book, we have Kuya
Lee.
Lee.
But I think that's her second book. So congratulations. And that one is, yeah, you just put it inside the book.
We know what you're doing.
All right. And then who wants to do the drawing for Stephanie Scher's book?
I can.
All right, thanks.
Let me say it, please.
All right, last but not least, cultivating care. Lessons for rural kindergarten classroom.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, Brown.
Holly.
Oh, Holly Brown.
Holly Brown.
Holly.
Is that Holly Bianc Brown?
Yes, it is.
Okay, congratulations, Holly.
Here's my former student.
Yeah.
Holly, remember,
Very good.
you were lucky to have.
All right. And if you didn't win one of these books, I think at least 3 of these are available for free online as ebook. So thank you all so much. Thanks to those who were online. There's plenty of food left in the room, so come on down and help us eat if you like. But again, thank you guys so much. This has really been a lot of fun to talk about so many people. My pleasure. Pleasure. Thanks for doing great work. And I was amazed at how many names we had. It took me 3 hours to organize.
I need to skedaddle on.
And thank you so much.
fun.
It's in all the books.
Oh, thanks, you too. You're
And I'm
welcome.
glad you found a publisher. I don't know why it was so hard.
Yeah, and I'm glad that,
All right.
I think it really was, it was.
So what journals?
Like the answer, right? I wanted to do something.
I don't know,
Yeah.
the engineering study,
Yeah.
and gathering perspective.
Happy with what I.
You have an open access agreement.
Yeah.
I do? I think it's Taylor.
And you forgot the other advice, let's take the sabbatical so you will.
Like, oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's it.
That does help.
I know.
Wait.
Become a-
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Become a full professor.